Welcome to Brave with Lisa YouTube channel. My name is Lisa Bruton and my goal is to inspire you to live bravely in that unique rhythm of grace that God has designed just for you. On this channel, we are going to be hearing from amazing people from all different walks of life who are bravely walking in that unique rhythm of grace and calling that God has designed just for them. I know that as we hear their stories, we are going to learn a lot. We're going to find keys that are going to help us to also walk bravely in that unique rhythm of grace and that unique calling that God has just for you and for me. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to Brave with Lisa. My name's Lisa Bruton, and today I have the gorgeous, fabulous, adventurous SJ Meeson. Well, I call her SJ. Her full name's Sarah Jane.
That's okay. Thank you.
Hi, SJ.
Hi, lovely. How are you?
Good. Now, I know that you actually have your fingers in many pies and your life is full and wonderful. Can you share what fingers you have in what pies and what's going on in your world?
Yeah, sure. So I run a few businesses. So what originally started out was Christian Women in Business. Then we added Christian Women in Leadership. Then we added Christian Women. And now we're known as the Christian Women Group, which was formed back in 2017, which is basically, it's a community and it's events. And our main purpose is to draw people closer to God in their businesses, in their leadership, and then in their everyday lives. So for the women that might be in business, might be in leadership, they don't quite feel they fit into a traditional church framework, if you like, but still love Jesus with all their heart. Those are our people. So that's one pie.
One fabulous pie.
One fabulous pie, yeah. And then I muddle a little bit in property, and also I'm just me. I'm a daughter of God. I love skating. I love adventure. I've just got a puppy, which is really exciting. I have a husband, and originally from the UK, which is why I've got a funny accent. So it's northern, but it's tamed down, so Australians and US people actually kind of understand words that I'm saying. Oh, and I also run the Automation Girl, which is my main bread and butter.
Yes, so many pies. And actually the way I know you, SJ, is through Christian Women in Business, which is now Christian Women Group. Is that right?
Yeah, the Christian Women Group. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it was a total God meet, wasn't it?
When we
first met. I can't remember what year it was. Years are kind of all fuzzy to me now.
No, I was trying to think this. I actually think it was 2017.
Okay.
Met, but I came.
But it was the September
first conference in 2018.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so second conference 2018.
Yes.
Was it?
And that's when I came. Was your second year of conference?
Yeah. Anyway, bit blurry, but we met at another Christian conference. And then, been together ever since.
They're definitely, and that's just also to say how great are conferences and how it connects people. Like you have those God meetings, and you are definitely someone who God lined me up with, and I've really appreciated it.
Yeah, it is. You have your special people.
You do.
For sure.
So SJ, I asked permission from you before we hopped on today, about this story. And I'm just wondering if you can tell me about your story when you hit burnout.
Yeah, okay. So the years are muddled. I'm going to say it was 2019 was when it kind of, 2019, because 2020 was when I left. Yeah. So previous to that, I'll give you an idea. So I was still in a job and working 4 days a week. I was doing huge commuting. I was still doing the Automation Girl. I was still doing Christian Women in Business. We were doing renos, not local, interstate. What else? I was trying to keep up at the gym. I just had a lot of stuff. And we'd been house sitting too for like 18 months, which is absolutely crazy. If you've ever lived in the life of faith and house sitting, it's like a whole nother level with faith. Like it makes you realize that just worrying about, I don't know, if I'm going to get a car or whatever, as a minuscule thing when you're trusting God with a place to live, like your shelter and food are your two main things. So learnt lots, very faith testing times with business, and a lot of other things. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy some aspects of it. I dreaded other aspects of it. But that's just a really quick, in a nutshell, build up of everything that I was doing. So there was lots of demands at home, at work, at business, self demands and self pressures. There's perfectionism, and there's only one of us, right? There's only one of us. So doing that for, I'm going to say, since 2013 was when we left our actual home and began house sitting. So it would have been a good 4 to 5 years of that intensity, which led to that burnout point. So I could start feeling the signs of burnout. I just didn't know what it was until I knew what it was. So it first just started with, so our body releases a lot of signs. For me, ulcers, migraines, stress eating, binge eating, which is something that people don't really talk about or associate or feel shame about. What else? That was like the very beginning of it. And then it progressed into more very serious, how do I say, symptoms. So at the end of that year, not only had I been managing all those things, we went through a massive merger in the company that I worked for, and it was very stressful. And I was asked to do a lot of things that put me under even more pressure and went against my personality and my values, and really tested me. And then I reached the maximum of change that I'm a pretty adaptable person. I'm flexible. You have to be in business, but I'd reached my change threshold. And then one of my bosses, who I was really close to, who was actually my line manager, decided that he was going to leave. And I think that was at the point that broke the camel's back, something so simple as that. So I was at work one day, and I was starting to feel symptoms of depression. So dark thoughts, why am I doing what I'm doing? Even thoughts of death. So I can remember my turning point. Everyone has a turning point of when they go, I'm just about to hit rock bottom. And I was stood on the balcony, an inside balcony at work. And this might be confrontational for a lot of people, going to tell you in advance. But I got to a point where I was like, my life would be better if I pushed myself off of this balcony and killed myself. Like, that's to the point that I got to. And I've gone through depression quite a bit in my life. So I understand depression. I understand being in the pit. I know what comes with that. I know the filters that you have in front of you when you're in that state. So even though it wasn't actual depression in the sense of, how do I explain it? Burnout is different to depression, but you get depression symptoms. I just knew at that point I need to go and get help. Like, if you're managing your depression and you understand your flows, you know, you get to a point and you're like, I need to go and see a doctor now. This is where it's starting to change. So that was my turning point. When I started thinking about committing suicide was going to be better than living my life, that was I need to go and see a doctor. So I've been talking to my husband about how I've been feeling, and quite a few weeks before that, and in the build-up of that, you know, I'm not really coping too well. And then when I did hit that point, I was like, it all flopped out. Like, it all just, that was it. So the next day I took myself home. My new manager had started then. Bless the poor woman. I was like, I'm a mess, see ya. She was so good. Like, honestly, God, like, okay, so I'm going to tell you all some God stories within this midst of being in the pit.
Yeah.
So I got home. Am I okay to keep going?
Yes,
Is this okay?
Please
Yeah.
do.
So I got home. Somehow, I told Nath, look, I'm it. Like, this is it. I'm in the pit. I can't function. I can't do anything. So the next round of symptoms that came was I couldn't get myself out of bed. Even the thought of putting the rubbish bins out was totally overwhelming. Couldn't drive. Couldn't put together meals, like all those simple things in life that you should be able to do. I hate using the word should.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, we normally do, just it wasn't there. So I can't remember how, but he had some time off work, which was amazing timing. So that was the first thing.
Wow.
Nath had a day off. I can't remember why, but he did. So we managed to get in with my doctor. He was able to drive me because he was off. We got in. I explained to her how I was feeling. She was like, okay, let's get you in with the psychologist. Let's get you on some tablets to help balance your chemicals out again. And then we'll just take it day by day from there. So I was a complete mess in the surgery. I was a complete mess in my doctor. I just couldn't keep myself together, basically. And so she was like, go and see the receptionist and see when you can get booked in. But I think like the psychologist might have a bit of a wait. I was like, okay. So we went out, went to see the receptionist, and she was like, oh, actually, we have had a cancellation. This must have been at 11 and the psychologist is free at 1 o'clock. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, come back at 1 and we'll get you in. I was like, so God had planned for my husband to have a day off, got me in at the doctor's and got me straight in to see someone that I really needed to go and see.
In themselves.
Yeah. And then a boss that was, I mean this in the nicest way, guys, a female woman who just gets being a female. So even though my original boss was fantastic, loved him to bits, he was great. Just she was going through some things with her daughters as well. And she just knew, she just got it. She could see, she was like, I don't even know you, but I know that something's not right. Yeah. So she supported me. So time off work, I think I had like a month off. I was able to see the psychologist. She just got me in straight in after that. Like we were consistent, and we just basically built on strategies that were as simple as going for a walk down the street, brushing your hair, getting a shower. Like it sounds really simple, but though when you're in that state, those simple things are massive. Yeah. And just being able to accomplish getting a little bit of sunshine when the last thing you want to do is take yourself outside isn't like, it's huge. So it's just a real step by step. Okay, made it to the end of the street, made it to the end of the other street, made it around the block. Okay, you know, and then getting in the car. Okay, you've made it in the car. Great. Next step is, okay, now let's just drive to the shops around the corners. Great, you've made it around the corner. So it's just, I guess, building on that foundation. And yeah, just the amazing miracles that came out of being in that real dark, suppressive, vulnerable state. God had my back I don't know, like a kid, you just like, oh, I'm here. And he grabbed me. He had me. And people think when you're in leadership, you have to have it all together. And it's at that point of vulnerability where you have nothing, you don't even have trust. You literally just flop on God. Like you're a big fat mess. And he was there, like in your most vulnerable, deepest, darkest. And everyone says, oh, you Christians, you should be happy and should have everything together and you're a leader and all this bull poo, if I can say politely. But really, when God strips everything back and you're in your most vulnerable, you don't even have that strength to trust, or yeah, you just have nothing. You have absolutely nothing, and he's got you. I feel like that just builds your faith even more, knowing that people feel secure when they've got all their stuff together and all their ducks lined up in a row, and yeah, everything's merry. But it's that doesn't build faith. Like taking those, stripping the vulnerability, the layers, the tiredness, the energy, the everything, so you've got absolutely nothing left. That is when faith grows, and allowing yourself to be that vulnerable that you just have no other option than to let God have you and for him to provide. And he did. And, you know, ever since then, so what are we now? 2020? I keep writing 21, but we're actually in 2020 and we're nearly halfway through the year.
2022.
2022. I'm still writing 21. Like, so what's that? That's like 3 years later. What people don't realize is, so there's the lead up to burnout. Yeah. And people might think like a broken bone, 6 weeks of healing, and you're done. Mm-hmm. Burnout is not like that at all. Mm-hmm. It is 6 years of healing kind of journey, because you've pushed yourself that much. Other parts of your body are also in, how do I say, survival mode too. So your adrenal glands, your energy levels of however that works with your adrenal, I'm not a doctor, but all those other things get affected by stress as well, sleep, etc. So, and God still, from that moment, I mean, he was with me there before that, but in this part of the journey, he's been with me then, and he's even in that burnout zone, even like this year. So once you reach that point, like it's just a slow journey to recovery. Mm-hmm. So I had to, and still have to, be really super careful with how much energy I put out, and how many people I interact with, who I interact with, really protecting that space and that energy that you do have, because it takes you ages to get that energy back. So you kind of cling on to life for the energy that you do have. Which is why I'm like, this year we had to go virtual for conference. And I was like, oh, this is the best conference ever. Like, I have to deal with 5 or 6 people. Like, I can go in my own room. Like, it was just phenomenal. And even like after that, I was just telling Lisa beforehand, this is the first time I've actually even been on camera. Like, so what was that, February, and what we're in, nearly end of May.
Yeah.
And I've just, so last year I went into a little bit of hibernation. This year, same thing, just gone into that hibernation, conserved energy, been looking after myself, been doing the day-to-day things that are really important, getting sunshine, looking after my health, all that kind of stuff. So it's such a long healing process, but again, God has just been with me. And Lisa was saying, how, do you mind if I share that you pray, you've got your list of people that you've been asking to get on the show, and you've been asking about SJ. And I know Lisa asked me around conference, I really want to get you on my show, but I'm going to wait. And then you've been waiting and you've been asking God, and he's been saying no. And then last week I was like, okay, God, I think I'm ready to get back out into the world. And then Lisa got a yes, and like contacted me yesterday or the day before and was like, want to come on? I'm like, yeah. Well, if you'd asked me a week before, I would have been, no, I'm not ready yet. You know, I'm just not ready yet. So it's amazing just how God's given me the break. He's even told other people, back off. And amazing. Then now it's like, oh, and I was saying, no, now I've said, okay, I'm ready. There's a few other things that have come on the table. So it's just so interesting how even now he's still looking after me, and I don't even know. It's like he's subconsciously looking after me, and I don't, so that's a very long-winded answer to your original question.
Oh, but it was wonderful. But I also love, you know, I'm going to go back to a few things.
Of course.
But I love just at the end there how you're like, oh, I think it's time for me to come back out again, you know, come out of hibernation. And how God uses different things to confirm as well, because I can imagine it would be a tentative, like, is it time or isn't it? And God will just affirm and encourage you in those things as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So SJ, I want to ask, there's so many different things I'd love to ask, but I would love to ask maybe some beliefs that perhaps you needed to deal with in the healing process.
Yeah. So old beliefs to new beliefs. Old beliefs was I had to be Superwoman. New beliefs is nowhere near do I have to be Superwoman. I just have to be me. Yeah, and just getting comfortable in my own skin. It's like the modeling, like fitness, media stuff that gets pushed around. You know, you have to be slim, you have to have a six-pack, blah 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 blah. I feel like there's an equivalent of that in the online business space.
Okay.
Especially with like Instagram and all these women that are like six-figure this and do it all, and you know, you should be grinding. And our motto, hustle, yeah. And our motto for Christian women in business is grace over grind. And I'm like, oh, I was the worst person at that. So there's that. I need to be Superwoman. I need to be everything to everyone. People pleasing. I'm going to let people down. Guilt, suffocation, I guess is what came with that. And I always remember something you put out, and I think it was this year you put it out, I can't remember, but you said it's okay to say no to something even if you don't have something on. I was like, yes. You can say no even though you don't have something on. So that change in belief is probably one of the biggest ones that I've had to change. I mean, there was a few in that. So there was the people pleasing, feeling like you have to say yes to everyone, feeling like you're going to let someone down. I'm going to let this person down if I don't do this. So new belief is learning the polite way of saying no. Thank you so much for that fight, but that just isn't the right time for me right now. Polite way of saying no without saying no. And then there's what I would call just personal pressures that we put on ourselves that we think we have to be. And our theme for conference this last year was identity. And I feel like I've really begun to understand what that is now and how that plays out, and how much of these ridiculous personal pressures I've been putting on myself. I need to be this kind of person to be a leader. I need to have this type of image to be a leader, this type of haircut. I have to act this way. I have to be this person to people. All these things that are pressures that I put on myself that I thought I had to be when really I didn't. And they just clashed so much with who I am, my personality, all of those kind of things. So even in this past hibernation season, has been a lot of changing that dynamic to, okay, well, who am I? What is it that I love? How is it that God's made me? What are my values? And how do I now want to place that? And how can I just be more kind to myself within that process and in all that? And I was watching this great documentary earlier this year about how the gap with how people show themselves on social media and all of their personal brand versus who they actually are is growing further and further apart because people are just so scared. So even pretending to be someone that you're not can lead you to burnout. You're fake, like you're faking. Hey,
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Yeah. So before I would turn up for doing something like this and I'd feel like I have to have something vibrant on, like I have to present myself in a certain way. And now I'm sat in a jumper, I've got my favorite necklace on. I did put makeup on because I did want to make a little bit of an effort. But I'm just so much more, well, this is me. I love green. Green's nature. Like I'm wearing my green comfortable top to do this interview. Like, and I'm still a leader from this place of me. So is that a few to get you, or would you like some more?
No, that's good. I was just, it was making me think of even a time when I was starting to feel burnout and God said to me, I want you to step out of this and this ministries and things that I'd started up and done in the church. And I was like, oh God, no, because that can't be you, because the church says you see a need, you feel a need. And
man says.
Yeah, that's right. But that, when I grew up in a particular church, that was the mantra in that church. And I was like, but God, why would you, like, it's a need. I need to do that. It's important, you know? And he's like, step out. And I stayed in longer than I should, but I finally stepped out. And of course, that need was filled by someone else. But that was such a big lesson for me to go, okay, I see a need and I could fill it, but God, am I the person to fill it? Or do you have someone else? And is this a yes or is this a no? And I remember that being such a big key for me. And I believe that stopped me from burning out other times, because it's easy, especially when you're compassionate, you're passionate, compassionate and passionate, and you want to do all these things and you can see all these opportunities. And when you're an entrepreneur, you know, you want to just try this and try that. So it's quite easy to burn out if we just don't stop and what's in our hands, and actually, is anything out of season now? Is there anything to say no to?
Yeah, totally. And that I think totally get where you're coming from with that. And I also think that, again, why I feel like it's so hard for us to let things go is because we've associated whatever that thing is that we're holding on to as our identity. So I'm the person that does cafe at church. I'm the worship singer. I'm a wife. I'm a mum. I'm a business owner. But what I've really been learning is I'm SJ, or I'm Sarah Jane, and I have a husband. I have a business. I have a dog. It's those are the things that we have. It's not actually who we are. And I often hear people say, oh, you know, he's a plumber. No, he's not a plumber. He does plumbing.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think once we disassociate ourselves with the doing as misconception that is our identity, that then gives us freedom to let go, and is a great tool if you are feeling that burnout to kind of look at yourself and going, okay, and I might have said all this wrong when I was introducing myself. I tried my best to word it right and what different pies I have my finger in. But, you know, it's taking a look at yourself and going, well, what am I actually identifying myself as when maybe it's the wrong type of identity? If it's hard to dissociate, it's like, okay, well, I'm not a gym instructor. I do gym instructing. Is that something that I still need to do, or do I need to let that gym instructing go, kind of thing? And it just allows us to dissociate. It allows us the freedom to just breathe, to have that space of exploration with God and healing, and then going, actually, no, that doesn't serve. Being a gym instructor makes me get up at 5:30. I'm knackered. I don't sleep because I'm paranoid about my alarm going off at 5:30. Like all these other things that come with that thing that you think you are when you're not actually that. That's just something that you do. So for me, a part of that healing has been, okay, how do I disassociate that, go back to my personal core beliefs, and then analyze the things that I am doing? Do I want to do them anymore? How does that look? How do we navigate that? Do I still want to talk to these people anymore? Do I still want to be part of that church group? I don't know, whatever it is that comes up, that is not who you are. You are you. You just do these things in your life. And I feel like once you really grasp that mindset, you'll feel so much more empowered to make really great decisions that aren't based on, oh, I just can't even like get myself out of bed right now because of all the pressures I feel and that horrible space that you might find yourself in. So yeah, it's really down to that. Who do I identify myself as? And disassociating, which will allow you to then move forwards and be empowered.
Yeah, that's very powerful, SJ. Yeah. I have a question too, because I'm listening to, because I see you're in a rhythm of rest and that unique rhythm of grace now. I see that you're really sensitive to when to stop and when to move. And have you found, because you're still running your businesses, but obviously they're probably run a bit differently. Have you found that because you're in God's rhythm and his flow, do you find that I guess is there more creativity? Do you find actually there's favor on it? Has it felt different? And have you even seen different outcomes since? Do you know what I'm asking?
I think so. You're basically talking about being in that grace zone and finding that rhythm. And when you're in the grace zone, things pop up that you don't have to work hard to get, I guess is how you'd put it. So you're not out doing the hustle, you're just doing your thing, like getting up, going for a skate or going for a surf, going and getting your coffee, coming home, breathing, feeling relaxed in yourself and your body. And then, you know, you come to your emails, or you open Messenger, Lisa's messaged you, or Bob Goff's messaged you, or whoever it is. And all you've done is, I don't know, chilled for the morning and done what it is that filled you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, totally different. Totally. I feel like one's hard, one's easy. So grace zone feels easy, and sometimes we can make that complicated. So when we're in there, we're like, oh, that came easy, and we start self-sabotaging. God, should I be doing that? That was way too easy. Right? Because we're so used to the hard. You should hustle, you should work hard, you should be contacting all these people, you should make cold calls. Who wants to do cold calling? No one wants to do cold calling. So then when we are in that grace zone and it does happen, then we can freak out with that, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, is this for real? Yeah. I can remember this one time, completely in the grace zone of God, I somehow managed to get a free ticket to Colour Conference. Some people love Colour Conference, some people don't. I don't care. I just knew I needed to be there. So I went in. I actually booked a really expensive hotel so I could just walk there. I didn't have to worry about anything else. So I can remember rocking up to the hotel, and I can't remember what movie it was, but I was like, gee, I could just, you know, get a shower, get into bed and just watch this movie. Pull yourself together, SJ. Turned on the TV. This isn't the main crux of the story. The movie was on that I wanted to watch, like on free TV. I was like, what the hell? Anyway, so I was like, this is going to be a great weekend. Watched the movie, had the time of my life in a hotel room in my own space. And then I went to Colour. The sessions were great. I mean, sometimes I'm not even listening to the speaker. I'm just in a space where can just be with God. There's no distractions. There's nothing else. It's just you and him. And then I came out, I checked my phone, and I had a message from this TV program that was, I can't remember, something around the table, but they'd asked me to come on their show as a TV guest host. I was like, what the heck? This is like, I had done nothing. I had gone and bought an expensive hotel room. I'd watched the best movie ever after the best shower of my life. I'd just spent some time, switched everything off, just been in God's presence. I step out, and then there's the opportunity there. I was like, this is unbelievable.
Wow.
So it's that learning to be restful in the grace zone and embracing that, and just again going back to that vulnerability of just opening yourself up to that and trusting God with that. Some people, I feel like I say man because I feel like there's so many things that man or woman, but man has made up that completely isn't God. And has put maybe false values or whatever it is, man-made religion, man-made bull poo, opinions, whatever it is, and then there's God. And if we can disassociate ourselves and try and reteach ourselves by getting into the word. What is God's character? What is it like to be in it, like to be in his grace zone? How does God work? What does that look like in opposed to the world, or opposed to how man thinks that you should do stuff, or how you should do church, or how you should do business, and how you should. But then there's the grace zone, being in the kingdom, understanding your inheritance, understanding that Jesus is in you. How does that play out in your life? How do you rest in that? How do you go about doing that? And the supernatural things begin to happen. Like you were saying, things aren't hard, things are easy. Opportunities come up and you're like, how the hell did that even happen? Like, yeah, so I think if we can get really good at being in that, like, I don't think burnout would come. But we live in the world, and there's temptations and there's distractions and there's social media coming at you with all this horrible stuff all the time. And, you know, we're human. But, you know, in those bad things, when we think we shouldn't be in these bad things, is when God appears to us so clearly. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember asking God, what does it look like to be in your rest, to do things from a place of rest? And he said, Lisa, it's when you're having fun.
Yeah.
And he showed me, you know, it doesn't mean that we're not doing work but it's fun and enjoyable. And he's like, the moment it starts to feel dry and heavy, that's when you come to me and be like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It's not quite right.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's that umbrella of grace, isn't it? And
yeah, it is.
It is. And yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, SJ, I thank you for sharing honestly. And I actually didn't know a lot of your story, about your burnout story. So that sounds terrible, but
no, I get what you mean. It's so good.
And yeah, I know that I think all of us can probably identify with you and identify in areas, and you've just spoken to my heart, so thank you.
That's okay.
And yeah, how can people find more about the Christian women's group?
Yeah, the Christian Women Group. It's okay. It's a bit of a tongue.
So used to saying Christian Women in Business.
You can say that. It's all good. Everything's linked to everything now. It's all good. Great. But we're on Instagram. We do have the Christian Women in Business podcast, which might be changing this year once I slowly progress into, you know, pulling myself back out of hibernation. So whenever the time is right, that will happen. But yeah, if you just search us on Instagram, the Christian Women Group, it will take you to everything. Or if you just search that online, you'll find it. Or even if you just look for me, Sarah Jane Meeson, everything's linked to everything. So I guess before you do end, I do want to share this, and that is, if you are at that point where you might feel like you're hiding your burnout, but you like, I'm just going to be serious with you, and I'm going to be that friend that asks, because everyone should have that friend that asks, are you thinking of killing yourself? Are you thinking those horrible thoughts? And if you are, go and get help. There is no shame in going and seeing your doctor, even just talking with your spouse, whoever your safe person is. Go and talk to them, ask them to go with you to the doctors if you need to. Go and get some tablets to just balance your chemicals out, because once they're balanced, you can start making better choices. And just go and get help. Like, don't do it alone. Don't feel that you are alone. Listen to those signals and trust God in that process, and he's got you. Don't take it lightly. I'm shooing off that shame, and go and get the help that you do need, because it's out there. We just have to just take that first step to go to the doctors, and everything else will fall into place after that, for sure.
It's taking that brave step.
Yeah. Don't put up with it anymore. You don't have to.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you, SJ. That's really important. And duty of care. That's beautiful. Thank you, my friend.
That's okay.
I love you dearly.
Yeah, you too, hon. You too. Thank you so much for having me on your show, and thank you so much to everyone who's watching and listening, coming through the journey with me. And it's been good.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on Brave with Lisa. I hope that it has inspired or impacted you in a small or large way. Feel free to comment, to subscribe, and share with some friends. And please join us next week on another conversation we will have here on this channel on Brave with Lisa.